I think Rutgers basketball and Rutgers football is separated at birth. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed a terrific weekend. It was kind of an action-packed weekend with NFL playoffs, college football playoffs, portal news, Rutgers basketball, Rutgers portal news. Let's get to it. Rutgers comes away with a Big Ten win at home against Northwestern, and we could say whatever it is we want. Many people felt Rutgers would struggle to get a Big Ten win. We're 2-4 in the Big Ten, and there are 3 teams behind us, so a win is a win is a win, especially in the Big Ten. Not unlike football, where we beat the really bad teams and the teams from lesser conferences, but when it comes to our peers who are on our level or better or elite, we stand no chance. But nonetheless, Rutgers comes away with a 77-75 overtime win. And yes, Brian Fonseca, both wins in the Big Ten were against lesser Big Ten teams like Oregon and Northwestern in overtime. It's a win nonetheless for a team that you thought would be really bad. We were down early, down 10 early, as a 4.5 point dog. And we're like, okay, we're coming off a bad loss to Illinois. Here we go. Here comes the spiral. Nonetheless, like an old Pikel team, when we wanted to play gritty defense, we'd go 12 minutes without scoring. We'd fall behind by double digits. And then that defense would kind of allow us to get back into the game. We'd make a few shots. And fortune would look down on us and we get back in the game. And now we pull off a win. So, thank goodness for Maine, Ryder, Delaware State. Delaware State's been kind to both Rutgers basketball and Rutgers football, which we'll get to in a little bit. Nonetheless, we come back from that early 10-point deficit, and thank goodness for the MEAC and bad Big Ten teams. Otherwise, Rutgers football and basketball both would be cellar dwellers. And like we did against Oregon, we snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Having been down 10 early, we get to within a couple points at halftime. It's a back-and-forth struggle in the second half. We take the lead, 5-point lead. We give it up. It goes into overtime. But we get the win, sandwiched between a beatdown by number 16 Illinois. In the game, we lost 81-55 as a 22-point dog. And Illinois easily covers that. And we do what we do against good or elite teams, regardless of the sport. We'll backtrack a second. Illinois, I didn't get to a chance to review this game, but a lot of the things that when we do poorly, we know we're not going to do well. We shot 36%, 27% from 3. That's been our bugaboo forever. Free throws, we were 37%, 3 for 8. Didn't get to the line, and when we did, we didn't make them. We were out-rebounded, 45-32. Illinois, historically long and athletic and kind of physical. We got into foul trouble. We were out-athleticized by Illinois. Everything that we don't do well kind of surfaced. Caden Powers, Harun Zerno, the only Knights in double figures. J-Mike, 0 points in 24 minutes. Talked about tale of two teams, tale of two halves, a player, tale of two. It just, the disjointed nature of how extreme we get in our productivity versus our Non-productivity is astounding. Darren Buchanan had 4 points in 24 minutes. Tariq ended his streak of double-digit scoring, averaging 25 points per game with only 6 points in 16 minutes. And we were just outclassed. Now, like I said, it's another example of a tale of two teams, a tale of two players that from game to game, half to half, are just widely divergent. Now, we weren't going to match up against Illinois any way, shape, or form, but we save a spiral out of control by beating a team that a lot of people said was a winnable game, and it was, and it didn't look like that early on. Tariq Francis bounces back after having 6 points against Illinois. He got back into his groove with 30 points, and was big in overtime, and extends his 24, 25 points per game, 5 out of the last 6 games. He shot 10 for 22, 8 for 9 from free throws, following up on an Oregon game, which he was 10 for 11. And he is now 70 for 80, which is 87.5%. He's approaching Cam Spencer territory. And, there was a lot of chatter about Tariq Francis preseason, NJIT. He's a volume shooter. He's not going to do anything in the Big Ten. I felt he was going to be our leading scorer, even if it averaged around 13, 14 points a game. He's around 15.5 right now. And my feeling was, all right, he's doing well against lesser competition. If he holds up in the Big Ten, that remains to be seen. That will be the barometer for him. And those early concerns, Tariq has shown he can play in the Big Ten. He had success against lower level teams. So you're thinking, okay, that's nice, but let's see what you can do with the big boys. But he's showing he belongs. He wasn't that productive against Michigan and Illinois, but otherwise he's carrying the offense. So good job by Tariq. And he has the receipts for a lot of people who didn't expect anything out of him being an undersized guard, playing for NJIT. We did, as I always talk about, our tale of two cities kind of team and players. Darren Buchanan, who's been on the witness protection program the past few games, came back. He had double-double, 14, 10, and 2. He missed a free throw late, which was big, but then he got a block at the end to save the game. So he bounced back. He didn't shoot well, 4 for 13, and 6 for 10 from free throws, which is about what Rutgers historically does. But he got some productivity, and being productive is always a good thing. J. Mike, after he bounces back after no production against Illinois, he 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in 27 minutes. And Caden Powers hit his favorite number. I think this is the 4th or 5th time. He scored 9 points. He had 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He play that number 9 whenever Caden Powers is in the lineup. Good for him. I've said many times at the beginning of the year, I look forward to him being that 2 guard that can be that reliable shooter. Dylan Grant, a non-factor, and he hasn't been good lately. 1 point, 3 rebounds, no assists in 20 minutes. But coach said after the game, he's been sick the past 3 games, and that might explain his lack of production. He had 1 point against Northwestern, 2 against Illinois, and 6 against Oregon. So his feeling under the weather probably explains why he hasn't been very good lately. Chris Newilly, 5 points, 5 rebounds in 13 minutes. We're getting decent production out of him. I don't think we're going to get a lot of offense, but if he can be that guy with that defensive prowess, some are kind of comparing him to Caleb McConnell. If he becomes 3/4 of that, we're in good shape, and he's a keeper. Brunzino falls back into a tale of two players with 0 points, 17 minutes, 0 for 6 shooting, all of them from three. If he can't hit threes, he really doesn't have much value. He doesn't bring much value to justify getting any sort of serious playing time. So, and along those lines, Badalau is kind of fading into oblivion himself. 0 points, lack of production. Early on, we thought he might be a guy until he wasn't, and he hasn't been very productive at all. We're not getting much production out of the center position. Agboli, 4 points in 15 minutes. Bryce Dortch, 2 points in 23 minutes. Undersized, playing that 5 position. That's not going to work out. If we're going to play in the Big Ten, we got to get both defense and some offensive production out of the 5 position. Nick Martinelli for Northwestern. He was the offense for them in the beginning of the game. He had 9 points early on 3 for 3 shooting. He scored 11 points in the first 10 minutes. We fell behind 11-4. Then 25-15, we were down 10 points. We closed the gap to 31-23. Rutgers being Rutgers, we do what we do. We missed a lot of layups, second chance points. Then we go on a 10-2 run to close the gap to 35-33 at the half. Old school Pikel game. Looks like we're getting run off the floor, off the court, and then we kind of grind back into it. And that's the perfect description of a Steve Pikel team. They're grinders. Second half, Northwestern expands their lead to 6 points. They're leading now for most of the game, and I think we had an opportunity to take the lead around 41-40, I think the score was. It might have been at that point. We grind back and forth. We take a late lead. We're up 5 points late. And that's cut to 1 point left. The game goes to overtime. But Tariq Francis leads the way as we take a 5-point lead in overtime. Tariq hits some free throws. And we come away with a win that I'm kind of surprised that it left a lot of people feeling good that we could actually get a win at home against the Big Ten team, regardless of who it is. 30,000-foot view. All right, so we shot okay, about 40.5%. And along those lines, let me get to this because there's a lot of chatter on social media, Facebook, the guys at the Night Report. They're harping on the fact that shooting, we're not a modern, we're a dinosaur offense because we shoot a lot from around the key, and they show the shot selection from Illinois and from us. And Illinois is outside the 3-point range, and all our shots are mid-range, and that's not a good thing because that's not modern basketball. I don't know if you guys have played basketball before, but your percentages are much higher from inside the arc than beyond the arc. That's just the way it goes. Our problem is we can't defend the 3. That's why we suck. We're also not great shooters, but the fact that if we took more threes, we'd be a better, more modern, more productive offense, frankly, is laughable. Nonetheless, against Northwestern, we shot poorly from 3, 31%. Free throws, we were decent, 71%. I think we're around 70, 71 this year. Out-rebounded, and Northwestern had more blocks. Understandable, we're kind of an undersized, not a real Big Ten team. Northwestern had 6 blocks, I believe, to our 4. And we had 6 fast break points. So compared to 13 for Northwestern's out-assisted, 20-14. We did have less fouls. Our free throws, we shot okay. So that composite picture shows why it was kind of a close game. We did poorly in things we typically aren't great at, especially when we lose, but we did just enough to pull out a win. And so now it's on to Wisconsin, who beat number 2 Michigan State. And it's on to number 19 Iowa, 12-4 Indiana. And your task is to not get blown out. If you're Rutgers basketball, next 4 games, you can't get blown out. Because after that, I don't want to say these are winnable games, but they go to California after that. USC, UCLA, they have good records, but they're kind of winnable. Not Michigan, Illinois, Michigan State. Those are games that, if we hit shots and hit some threes and hit our free throws, we have a pretty decent chance. They're good but not elite teams, and then it's off to 16-0 Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska is 16-0. Yeah. So then the stretch after that has some winnable games. Maryland, Penn State, Minnesota, Washington. Maryland is a surprise. Usually if they're going to do well in something, other than lacrosse, it's going to be like basketball. Just don't lose 6 in a row. You got to get some wins in there. So, 14 wins is within reach. 15 an outside chance. But you were 15-17 with 2 top 5 lottery picks. So that wouldn't be horrible. But at the same time, we have the kind of team like football where, okay, fine, you're around 500, close to 500, but you're only beating lesser competition, the bad Big Ten teams, and you're getting killed by everybody else. And so basketball and football are really 2 peas in the same pod, separated at birth. They're very similar in style. It's almost kind of scary. So let's hope basketball can get some unexpected Big Ten wins, and hopefully some of those bottom feeder programs that are just below us, they can do or keep on underwhelming, and we can get some wins against them. Okay, portal madness. Let's get to that. So the portal is ablazing. A lot of national news, and we'll get to some of that. Rutgers portal madness. Maine, Louisiana Tech, App State, Eastern Michigan, Citadel. It's almost like George Washington and NJIT. Our basketball and football programs are pulling from the same talent pool. Nonetheless, we know where we stand, what our strategy is to try and find programs that can act as feeder programs, and frankly, what our limitations are as far as success, history, and financial resources or lack thereof. The portal's the wild, wild west, and we've seen the craziness that's gone on with Damon Williams. We've talked about this a bunch, and I'm the old school guy. Get off my lawn. This isn't a good thing. It's going where I thought it would and said it would. When everybody's saying, "Hey, this is the new frontier, get with it," I'm thinking it's basically like congressional spending, a big Ponzi scheme. So Damon Williams actually signs a contract. Okay, this is good. Somebody's signing a contract. Is it for a legitimate business platform? Probably not. What's going on now is that you're finding that universities are offering the pay, and then they'll figure out what the business model is later, and then calling that NIL. And that is not the intent of name, image, and likeness. Nonetheless, Demond Williams signs a contract. I want to say it's 4 or 5 million, somewhere in there. And then shock of all shock, Lane Kiffin and LSU, it is believed that through the backdoor channels offers him more money. Might have been in the $6 or $7 million range. What a shock. Lane Kiffin being shady. Boy, that guy is just trouble no matter where he goes. He never changes. But so for all of those that thought and said that NIL will prevent all, the shady backroom deals, now it'll be out in the open. It makes no sense at all. It's only going to get worse because you're legitimizing the sketchy transfers of money between institutions and financial managers and agents and players. And a lot of people think and have been saying, well, if we can just come up with a collective bargaining agreement, that will solve everything. I just think that's laughable. It's not the collective bargaining agreement. It's not the magic elixir. The ability to regulate, which is a legitimate business platform versus an actual payout, is a hazy gray area that guys are going to be able to hide, much like a politician using shell companies to pillage funds from NGOs that they set up to make money for, that they try and claim is a legitimate non-profit organization. It's at best a Band-Aid to a problem that isn't going away, and it's only going to get worse. Nonetheless, that being said, my rant over. Our portal class is underwhelming. I think Richie from the Night Report might have given it a C-. I wouldn't disagree all that much with that. We are missing in immediate impact players. Filling needs on defense. Boy, I mean, that's a very un-Greciano-like defense and approach. And before we get to that, I have to approach another bugaboo of mine. And that's this idea, and the guys from the Night Report were kind of talking about this. A lot of people complain, and I'm one of them. Okay, it's nice to get guys from Group of 5 schools. They fall through the cracks. It happens. You can get some pretty good players for whatever reason. They stay close to home. They're overlooked. They undersell themselves. And Richie's argument was that, hey, going from another Big Ten program to Rutgers is a sideways move. Why would you want to do that? If they're good, they're not coming to Rutgers. And if they do come to Rutgers, it's because they weren't any good in the first place. But what I have to say about that, all I have to say is 3 words: New York Jets. Why Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Mekhi Becton, Demario Davis, Joe Flacco, Jason Pitt. I mean, all these guys who were on the Jets stunk until they left the Jets and became better. And it's all about, talked about this a lot, it's coaching and it's scheme and it's fit and being able to identify what people do and put them in the correct positions to succeed. That's, whether it's business or athletics, that's the secret sauce. So maybe you're a guy, at Iowa or Illinois or Indiana. You were a 3-4-star guy, but you're just not integrated well with the program. The coaching staff, for whatever reason, doesn't see your value. Maybe there's guys ahead of you that are better. Maybe you just never got comfortable. But a move to a place like Rutgers to get a fresh start, East Coast, developmental program, perhaps that's and the bag. So perhaps that's a reason to move on. I don't buy that we can't get players from other Big Ten or Power Four programs because they wouldn't come here if they were any good, or if they did come here, they weren't any good. So push back on that a little bit. Nonetheless, uh, some portal additions. We might have went over some of these cornerback Zamir Dawood from Villanova. Uh, we talked a little bit about him being from North Brunswick. He was the first transfer commit for 2026. He had 2 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, 44 tackles, has 2 years of eligibility remaining. In the CAA, he had a pretty good reputation as a solid corner, ran a 10.9 and 100 meters in high school, so he has some speed. We'll see how that works out. Villanova, I do believe, had a pretty good season this past season. Toledo, who has been making strides both as a program and on defense the past few years. We've talked about them a little bit. Man, Malachi Davis, defensive end. He's a much needed edge rusher. So, after Eric O'Neill, we had a lot of hope for him, and he didn't really live up to it. How much is that on him and the defense as a whole, and how much on Rob Smith? Going back to what we were just talking about, if O'Neill say he went to Iowa, I think there's a pretty good chance that he would have done very well. Jury is still out. Nonetheless, Malachi Davis, maybe a little more athletic, maybe a little more size than O'Neill, maybe a little more speedy, twitchiness. We're going to need a pass rush. Hopefully he can contribute. And he wound up being the second transfer in this class. We also get from Maine, not exactly a powerhouse. I believe they had a losing record this year. 6'3", 310 pounds, 2 seasons at Maine. Apparently was sought out by Boston College, Penn State, so that's always a good sign. But for them, he's probably a depth piece. For us, he needs to get some playing time. He had 32 tackles, along with 3.5 TFLs, 2 years of eligibility remaining. He'll probably be a depth piece with an opportunity to rotate into some starts. We'll see how that goes. He was one of those guys out of Virginia. And, again, a guy that wasn't heavily recruited in high school, maybe he was overlooked. We'll see how it pans out. Rondo Porter, defensive tackle, with John Randall vibes as far as I'm concerned. A lot of the guys around the program seem like this one from App State. We covered him a little bit in the last video. 6 foot, 300 pounds. Probably our best potential for upside. And hopefully he's that guy who, he was out South Carolina, so that's a good sign. And he'll fill a need on the interior defense. Actually, we have needs all over the defense. And I think a lot of people are counting on him being a starter and being able to contribute right away. Hopefully it works out that way. He had 43 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and a couple sacks. Some people have, in the Rutgers universe, compared him to Ramil Meekins. And he was another appreciated guy. He was a productive guy for Rutgers in the early to mid 2000s. So hopefully he turns out to be that guy. Linebacker Ty Morris out of Rice. Rice, another program that hasn't had much success. They were 11th in the AAC, 5-8, 2-6 in conference. Nonetheless, he is 6'2", 225. He had a pretty good season. He had 88 tackles, 9.5 for loss. And he is another guy that people are hoping can be a starting linebacker sooner rather than later. He has speed. He can play the run and the pass. He played 3 seasons at Rice. So he has an opportunity to be a starter and one that can contribute right away. But I got to tell you, it's something that we desperately need. Cornerback Bradley Jones out of the Citadel, he of the 4.3 40. Unfortunately, from what I can read and see with his, he's not Deion Sanders. He's not going to run that. Deion was a 4.29 guy, but you never even threw the ball his way because you had no chance of completing it. So Bradley Jones is not that. Nonetheless, you can't teach speed, and if he plays special teams, and he can be in the kick block and punt block teams, and some other special teams return games, he could be a guy that can turn into something. He has, when you have twos like that, there's a better chance of you having an impact at the next level. So we'll see. So we land a offensive lineman from Eastern Michigan, Everett Smith. He commits to Rutgers, and it must have been that 16-13 Eastern Michigan win over Rutgers in 2017. He has 1 year of starting experience, and he has 1 year of eligibility remaining, so he's going to be a guy that's going to have to play or get significant snaps right away. He's 6'4", 302 pounds, maybe maybe just a touch undersized. But nonetheless, he earned a starting center job, but then was moved over to left tackle. And he stayed there. So maybe this is a guy, and we're probably going to be running into this where we're rotating guys around, rotating Dante Chin around. So Everett might be able to be plugged in at a couple different places. He did allow 24 pressures and 3 sacks last year, which is not great, especially, when you're at a place like Eastern Michigan. Nonetheless, ACC and the Big 12 were interested in him. I guess you could never have enough big bodies. The portal being like free agencies, you're always going to overpay because of needs. Another offensive lineman, Isaiah Cook, Delaware State. They hooked us up in basketball, letting us win a game. Thank goodness for them. Cook played guard at Delaware State, but apparently there's designs for him to play center. Now, we don't know what that means for Zelinskis and why they would do that, but they must be seeing something. And again, maybe they're looking to take the Bill Belichick view, where you want guys that are versatile and can be able to play a bunch of different positions. And he's going to have the opportunity to get some playing time. He is from New Jersey, so being a cultural fit shouldn't be a problem. Again, a little bit undersized, 6'3", 300. But we'll see how that works out. See if he can step up from Delaware State and get some playing time. And all of a sudden, a room that we need some depth because of losing guys to graduation or to transfer portal. We add some depth to the running back room from Louisiana Tech, and that's running back Clay Thievenin. He looks like he's going to be a C.J. Campbell replacement because C.J., remember, was supposed to be that guy that could run it for us some, but give us an added dimension catching the ball out of the backfield, which is something we haven't really had a whole lot of. not going to go over this again, how having that pass catching running back out of the backfield on 3rd and long can be a backbreaker for defenses. So I kind of love that. You can attack from a multitude of positions on the field and a multitude of ways. He'll add some depth. Don't be surprised if he gets quite a few reps. He had 2 years of junior college. He has likely 1 year of eligibility remaining. So he's 5'10", 202 pounds, and he kind of runs like a 5'10", 202-pound guy, straight up, kind of like a bowling ball. But he had 131 carries, 634 yards, which is about 5 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns, 33 pass catches for 269. So a pretty good production for someone who didn't play every down. He had 2 years at Navarro College, as a junior college. He had over 1,000 yards there, 10 touchdowns, and he got 21 passes, 201 yards. So he's a well-rounded running back who can run it and catch it. And he could be one of those guys, and we see this going on now where guys that put in a couple years of JUCO are now seeking injunctions to extend their playing time in college. We'll see if anything happens with that. Nonetheless, Louisiana Tech, and this is what you kind of want to see, they were pretty good in Conference USA, 5-3 in conference. Kept it close against LSU. They beat Southern Miss. Of course, they lost to Delaware and Washington State. But they did win a bowl game against Coastal Carolina. And I think, Clay is one of those guys. He gets out into the open and he's rumbling down the field. He might be one of those guys that once he gets rolling, may be tough to get down, or it doesn't look as fast as you think he is. But then, you can't catch him, and he winds up on a long run for a big gain or a touchdown. Went through quarterback Dylan Lonigan a couple of videos ago, talked about his throwing motion. Guys from the Night Report were talking about, I think it was Richie was saying, he watched all those games and he tends to have a lot of the passes deflected at the line of scrimmage. Mike brought up that he has a throwing motion of a baseball player, and I went through it. He was a pitcher, first baseman, and third baseman, and he definitely throws like a third baseman because he throws the football like he does a baseball from a lower position, long motion, and long arm extension. Unlike A.J. Suresh, who has a short, compact throwing motion from right where he's supposed to throw it from. So if you're throwing from a lower position, obviously you're going to be throwing the ball lower, but it also reduces your arc. If you're throwing from, next to your ear and you have a compact motion, your ball is going to have a little bit more of an arc to get over the defensive line. So completed 65 or 66% of his passes at Boston College. And once competition got really hard against ranked teams, he kind of, wasn't as productive, but he did, can't remember who it was, last game of the season, Big Ten team, he actually did pretty well. So, and we talked about the awkwardness of having Lonergan, who was a former Nick Saban 4-star Alabama recruit, competing with AJ, who is your 4-star guy who you're kind of grooming to be the dual threat quarterback of the future. So how well that's going to work out, who stays, who goes, who wants playing time, who's getting it, who isn't, that could be really awkward. Nonetheless, the offensive line, no matter who the quarterback is going to be kind of fitting the pieces of the puzzle together with and Taj White moving on, and he's joining Dion out in Colorado. He'll fit right out there because their offensive lines are not great. And so Tyler Needham Ryder Langsdale, who coming off of injury, Moshe G-Wood, not their chin. Gonna have to work out that rotation. All right, a trio of Rutgers transfers have signed with Temple. You'd think the Nets running back Sam Brown, he goes back home. Offensive lineman John Stone and Zach Amland, all inked with Temple, and they will be a short ride down the turnpike. And we wish them luck. Hope it works out for them. CJ Campbell, he's off to Duke. You know, Duke was pretty good this year, 9-5. Both, I think they won their bowl game, right? I think they won their bowl game. What was it? Or was it the ACC championship? No, that was Virginia. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm getting old. Can't remember stuff. Nonetheless, we wish him well at Duke. Big Ten coaching carousel has vastly improved. We talked about this. Pat Fitzgerald going to Northwestern, Kyle Whittingham to Michigan, Matt Campbell to Penn State, Bob Chesney to UCLA, and Penn State adds former New Jersey legend and Rutgers five-star running back, number 1 recruit in New Jersey, number 4 running back nationally, and number 29 player overall nationally, and that's out of St. Peter's, Savon Huggins. And I always felt bad for Savon. He took a chance on Rutgers. At the time, I thought he could have been that guy that started the ball rolling for other 4- and 5-star guys to come to Rutgers, and just never really worked out. He had a total of 800 yards, 3.2 average, and that pipeline never got going. So, you know, we kind of wish him well for taking a chance on us, but he's now with Penn State, so yeah, no, not any longer. Nonetheless, Sean Gleason heads to Kansas State from Missouri. Boy, I hope he can complete more than those 3-yard in cuts at Kansas State. And Dalvin Goey going to California, rejoins Bob Chesney at UCLA. A couple final tidbits. One kind of pissed me off, not going to lie. Yeah, and you knew this was going to happen sooner or later with NIL. Guys wanting money that they feel that they were owed. And Leonte Carew is suing Rutgers over NIL for when he was an active player. The lawsuit was filed on October 30th, and he's saying that he should be entitled to back payments, which is estimated to be around $3 million because Rutgers unjustly profited him from his significant contributions and pervasive public persona, whatever that means. Rutgers countered in their motion, saying that no court has granted relief in this type of complaint. The statute of limitations have long passed. It's been, like 13 years. And courts have generally ruled against this and denied this type of NIL claim. And I would have to think you can't just like go back and say, yeah, I want my money because I didn't get it. And you knew it was coming. I'm pissed that it's Leonte Carew. And I've talked about a bunch of NIL will open this can of worms. Universities are nonprofit. They're not profit-making ventures. They invest a lot of money in you via the taxpayers. But when is a taxpayer going to sue, by the way? I mean, you're getting athletes are treated like racehorses. Free tuition, free room and board, free meals, free coaching, not only for your sport, but in health, nutrition, life, future coaching, business contacts, which, by the way, all businessmen, when they go for their coaching and they want to up their game, they all have to pay for that stuff. They get free publicity from the university, the local press, the local media apparatchik, the NCAA. You know, you get to do cool stuff like come back to the stadium all the time and have people cheer for you, and you get entrees into coaching. So, you know, all of that is worth something. I mean, living at Rutgers, room and board tuition fees, everything all in is $55,000 a year, $220,000 for 4 years. That's like some of us, you don't finish in 4 years. Yeah, it's more money. So I'd like to see one of those bean counters. I want to see a bean counter come up and say, how much is all of that actually literally worth over a lifetime? So nonetheless, bad job by Leonte Carril. We'll end on a bit of good news. Kyle Monangai wins his first playoff games. He only had 27 yards on 8 carries for a little less than 3.5 yards per carry. But the Bears, 31-27, big comeback when he scored 25 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Packers. The big third down conversion, he had a pass catch for 22 yards. Continued success for Kyle Monangai and Rutgers basketball. Hope we can get a couple more Big Ten wins, and hope Rutgers football up their portal game. A lot of people are kind of concerned about, is this it? I just think Greg Schiano goes about his business in such a way. He's not going to overpay. He's not going to rush. He's going to wait for the guy that he feels is right for the program, whether it's a portal guy or a defensive coordinator. Hopefully he surprises us and makes liars of us all. Nonetheless, everybody enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you the next time.